If you haven't heard of MakerFlo Crafts and you've been looking for laser engraving blanks, then this is a video you're not going to want to miss. They have tons of different crafting supplies over there on the website, whether you're into sublimation, laser engraving, and a lot more. But what we're gonna focus on in this video is their laser engraving blanks. They were nice enough to send us a ton of their laser engraving blanks, and we're gonna review as many as we can, show you how we engrave them, and we're gonna use 3 different lasers to engrave some of these blanks. We'll be using a CO2 laser, a fiber laser, and our newest laser, the Omni One UV laser. So if that sounds like something you wanna get into, then buckle up, get your pen and paper out, because we're about to get into it on Laser Engraving 911. I'm going to talk a little bit about my thoughts of the blank, what I think about it. We're gonna show you how we engraved it. So without further ado, let's get into our first category, tumblers. Tumblers, tumblers, tumblers. Where do we start? So one of the first things I want to say about MakerFlo Crafts tumblers is that they are fun. In fact, the whole company in general is a very fun company. Whenever I see them at trade shows, they're always dressed up with all kinds of glitz and glam, and you know what? It reflects in their tumblers too. One of the things I liked about their 40-ounce tumbler, you can get it standard like you would normally get a 40-ounce tumbler. You can see we engraved this one with this magic mushroom wraparound pattern here. They come with options. They love options over at MakerFlo. So you can get just a standard 40-ounce tumbler with a lid, or you can get these cool little handles that are like modular and they screw on here. And you could have a handle on your tumbler. These handles are sold separately, but if you don't want to get all fancy with the handle, you don't have to buy that, and you can actually just get this nice screw-on lid so you have a standard tumbler. But one of the cool things is because these handles come in so many different colors, you can swap them out. That's why they're sold individually. So if you want to have, I think that this purple handle actually looks really nice with this graphic that we engraved on here. So you could technically make your finished product just like this. So I think that's pretty cool. They also offer colored boxes. So all of their boxes and all their tumblers come in different colors or a matching color that matches the tumbler, which is something that you don't usually see with a lot of laser engraving blank suppliers. So that's another little thing that sets them apart from other laser engraving blank suppliers. They've got skinny tumblers, they've got 30-ounce tumblers, 40-ounce tumblers, and the quality of them is pretty good, I have to say. The powder coating isn't super thick and it's not super thin, and they actually engrave really, really nice. We didn't have any problems getting through the powder coating, and the stainless steel underneath is very nice as well. In my opinion, their tumbler selection is very nice, tons of colors. Let's go ahead and move on to some cutting boards. All right. So let's take a look at their cutting boards. So I got all these cutting boards sent to me here, and I tried to engrave most of them, but I didn't engrave all of them. One of the funnest ones to engrave was the charcuterie board here. So we chose to use the CO2 laser for almost all the cutting boards, and we'll get into these ones over here in a second. But with this one, we actually used a combination of both CO2 and we used the Omni One UV laser to do the little implements that come with it. So this charcuterie board is very nice. It's marble and some kind of acacia wood. And what I decided to do was make a themed charcuterie board for my family. So I put because I wanted to actually keep this for myself. But I decided to get a nice graphic, which I made here with our family last name on it. And I engraved that with the CO2 laser. And then because it was so easy to actually just fixture these up under the UV laser, and the UV laser actually engraves wood really nice. I actually use the UV laser to put the M monogram on all the different tools. Very, very nice charcuterie board set. I can see this making a lot of customers very happy. It's super customized. The build quality feels really, really nice, and it was very easy to engrave. So let's move on to some of these other ones right here. Moving on to the kind of general run-of-the-mill cutting boards. These are much more affordable and more designed, I think, for general use. I chose to engrave the first one, which was the bamboo cutting board. And as you know from previous videos, bamboo can be kind of finicky when it comes to getting a dark mark, so I did defocus that. These basic cutting boards, they're all basically the same shape, but we've got different materials. So they've got bamboo, they've got walnut, and they've got rubber wood is what they're calling it. So now that we've covered the cutting boards, I think we should move on to some of their glassware. All right, next up on the MakerFlo Crafts list, we've got glassware, specifically whiskey decanters and decanter sets. We chose to use both the CO2 laser to engrave the top of this box. We've got the certified whiskey taster logo on the top of the box. And then inside, we actually use the Omni One UV laser, which was very easy and very pro level engraving. One of the things I love about the UV laser that we've been talking about here in the shop is just how well it engraves. This was very easy to line up on the UV laser, which is something that has proven to be kind of difficult with the CO2 lasers in the past, because you've got to do like a trace outline and make sure that you hit just the edges. But because the UV laser is a galvo, I was able to project this whole logo on the machine and actually see the UV light outlining right where I needed to place the logo, which made setup for this so much easier. One of the things I love about MakerFlo Crafts is that they are offering lots of different decanter sets. One of my favorite items that I definitely got to engrave from MakerFlo Crafts, really nice quality on the box, really nice quality on the decanter set. Hi there. Now we're going to talk about the barbecue set from MakerFlo Crafts. And we're going to talk about this very nice silicone heat-resistant glove that comes in the kit. No, all seriousness, MakerFlo Crafts has this really awesome barbecue set that definitely is going to be great for any kind of Father's Day gift or Christmas gift, and it can be fully customized. Here's what you get in the kit. You get this wonderful hamburger helper, this hamburger helper glove, which in fact, we were able to engrave my logo here, right here with the UV laser, and the UV laser had no problem doing that. In fact, we used a whole bunch of lasers on this. We used the CO2 laser, we used the fiber laser, and we used the UV laser to engrave this, just to kind of show off all the different lasers' capabilities. The barbecue kit comes in this really nice box. We did engrave the top. It is the laser engraving signature barbecue set. Inside, you've got a whole bunch of accessories for out at the barbecue. You've got the stabbing fork, the basting brush, which coincidentally happens to be engrave signed by me. You've also got the carving knife, which is very sharp, but if you notice, we use the fiber laser to engrave my logo on every single one of the metal implements, and we did a black anneal mark, which was very nice. I like to, whenever I'm doing knives and things that are going to be used, I like to use the black anneal mark with the fiber laser. It's a very permanent mark and it doesn't remove any material, and it will last through heat, it will last through washing. So if you don't know how to make the black anneal mark on your fiber laser, check out my F1 Ultra video. I've got some settings for that there if you have an F1 Ultra. It also comes, of course, with a spatula and some kebab skewers, I guess that's what those are called, and some tongs. Every single item in this is engraved with the Laser Engraving 911 theme, and it is a signature set, a one of a kind. I really like this item. I think this item has a lot of potential as customized gift. Moving on to another category over at MakerFlo Crafts, we're gonna talk about their pocket knives that they sell. They call these the Beast, and they are not kidding. So one of the things I noticed right away when I got these knives is that they are chunky. They are heavy, they are solid. I wouldn't consider them an everyday carry knife, you know, something you carry around. I mean, you could, but they have some serious weight to them. They've got a very beastly looking blade with even the sawtooth on it. Each one comes with a couple additional tools. This looks like some kind of skinning tool here, and then it also got a little flap out at the bottom that is a bottle opener. So they are very chunky, very heavy duty knives. We did engrave a few of them. We engraved the handle of this one using the UV laser. It did a very nice job getting all the detail in my Laser Engraving 911 logo, even the little lines in the laser star down there. And then I also hopped over to the fiber laser to do a deep engraving of my signature. They come in 3 different flavors. I also engraved this one on the fiber laser, and I actually thought that the body here was steel until I started engraving it and realized that the front and back of the knife is actually aluminum, as you can see from the white engraving, and I put my main laser engraving company, Sonoma Laser Engraving, on that. These knives are definitely could be used as bachelor gifts or something of that nature. They're pretty solid knives, a little bit too heavy for my personal taste, but hey, you know, I've got a buddy who's into knives and he's got some really chunky knives just like this. They engraved just fine. The build quality on them, like I said, is beastly. They're called the Beast. It seems to be very good, and they engraved very nice. All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's talk about boxes for a second. Let's talk about MakerFlo's selection of boxes for a second. They are one of the only blank suppliers that I use that has such a wide variety of empty boxes, and they have different colored wooden boxes too. Boxes are great whether you're building a much larger project looking for, say, a small box that can be filled with other engraved items to create a final package, or you're just looking for a one-off. But having the ability to buy wholesale blank boxes for creative use is something really unique that I think MakerFlo has brought to their laser engraving blank category. So let's take a look at some of the boxes that I actually engraved. So I took this small cigar box right here, and I just put Mr. and Mrs. Davidson on it using the CO2 laser with a little bit of defocusing to get that nice dark brown. This is just kind of a Baltic birch wood on here, so it doesn't like to engrave too dark. So keep that in mind when you're engraving with the CO2. You want to defocus a little bit to get that nice charred dark brown look that you see me doing here. My idea for this was maybe this was some kind of a wedding memento box that could be at the guest table at a wedding or something like that, or maybe if you're a photographer, the final photos that you delivered or some kind of a wedding gift could be given in this box. One of the other more elaborate boxes that I did, let's get to it here, is their larger box. I was like, this black box is just screaming to be a customized Dungeon Master box. And I actually did a little bit of color filling on this box as well. I actually used my own powder coating paint fill method for this box. I feel like it needed some really nice ornate Dungeons and Dragons themed logo on it, and would be a perfect box for any Dungeon Master out there. And they could fill it with any kind of their dice, their shields, their maps, whatever. I just had too much fun with this one, but I think this one came out really nice. These large boxes and the small boxes usually come in all these awesome colors. Keep in mind that when you do engrave away the color on these boxes, the wood is not this color all the way through. It's actually, so this box, if you were to engrave a logo on it, the engraving is going to be the color of this box unless you do the defocusing. So keep that in mind. that this is just a stain finish on there, but underneath you're going to have wood colored engraving. So I really got to hand it to MakerFlo for you know, offering blank boxes. I think blank boxes have a lot of potential, whether it's for a one-off gift or for a much larger project. Just having the ability to have these customized blank boxes is really something unique that I think MakerFlo brings to the table. So with that, I think we're going to move on to my final thoughts on the MakerFlo craft blanks that they sent over, and we'll wrap it up here. So let's do that. All right, so what do I think overall about MakerFlo Crafts and their blanks? So as a company, I've met MakerFlo Crafts, the team, many a times at different trade shows, and they've always been super helpful, super nice, super creative people. And the team of people that work over there are great. They have great customer service, they're very responsive. And overall, I think their prices for most of these blank items, especially when you apply the discounts, which is something we really didn't talk about. They have a build a bundle discount over there where you can actually bundle different styles of cups, different colors, or different cutting boards, different decanter parts. And once you reach a total of 25 items, you actually get additional discounts, which is something you don't see a lot of the other blank vendors offering, like JDS, and they don't offer you to kind of package things from different categories together to get a bulk discount. Well, at MakerFlo, they do offer that, which is something really cool that you should consider. Their prices are pretty fair across the board. They're pretty on point. Their prices for tumblers are great. The quality of their tumblers are great, and most everything I tried here was great. Like I said, you know, the knives are a little chunky for my tasting, but you know, that's just my personal opinion. I love the fact that they offer blank gift box options that really open up the doors for all kinds of possibilities. And now that they're offering these new electroplated rainbow style 40-ounce tumblers, they actually have this rainbow style, they have white and gold, and they have black and gold too, which I think are super hot and going to be very popular this year. So it's nice to see that. Overall, I'm just very impressed with their blanks. So if you're looking for a new blank supplier and you haven't tried out MakerFlo Crafts yet, you should definitely head on over. So I think that about wraps it up for our review of the blanks from MakerFlo Crafts. I hope you enjoyed us digging through all this stuff, using all of our lasers in the shop to accomplish these engraved items, and it's given you some ideas.